So, I want to talk about a very important topic today, which is signs that you are recovering from insomnia. So, if you're watching this video and you have been struggling with insomnia, whether it is for days, weeks, months, or years, oftentimes we have this North Star or this perspective on where we want to get to with our sleep, and we fail to see how far we've come. And I think we all have the expectation that we're going to just go to sleep one day and we're just not going to be worried about sleep anymore. And unfortunately, that's not actually how insomnia recovery happens. In fact, it is a very gradual process. And as somebody who has recovered from insomnia myself, it takes a long time, and it takes laying down the foundations for recovery to actually happen. And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down 5 signs that actually show you that you're probably doing a lot better than you actually think. Before we get into the core of this video, if you are new here, welcome. My name is Fiona, and I'm a recovered chronic insomniac turned certified sleep coach. And I create all of this content, including this video, because I was once where you are. I know what it feels like to feel lost, alone, lonely in this journey, because quite frankly, there are not enough resources out there that actually explain what insomnia actually is. And we'll go into kind of like the core of what is this video, but I do want to emphasize that it is okay for you to feel everything that you are feeling. All of your feelings are valid, and I know that it feels lonely and tiresome, and that it sometimes feels like this recovery journey is never ending. But please, as somebody who's also been where you are and was so close to also giving up hope, please don't give up hope. Just know that this is not your destiny. This is not how the cards have been played out for you. And you too, given the right tools and the right information, will also overcome this. Okay, let's get into it. And I'm actually so excited to be sharing this with you today, because I want to give you a little bit of hope. I know that maybe you're not where you want to be, but I want you to leave or watch this video and feel, okay, I've got this. Yes, I'm on the right path. Yes, maybe I'm not where I want to be, but that is also okay. So number one and first sign that you are already and you are recovering from insomnia is that you are here. You are watching this video, or you have maybe watched other videos, and you are starting to educate yourself on what insomnia is. And the reason why that is so powerful is because the insomnia recovery journey, yes, is a roller coaster. Yes, it is not linear. However, once you have started educating yourself on what the cycle of insomnia is, how the insomnia cycle is perpetuated, there is no going back. I truly believe that when you are first struggling with insomnia, when you're first looking for resources and it feels like you're not actually understanding what's actually happening, you're really on fix-it mode around your sleep, it's really hard to see kind of like the way out of it. But once you actually start educating yourself and you understand this perceived threat, how insomnia is this fear of wakefulness or this fear around not sleeping, and that in itself perpetuates the sleeplessness cycle, you will start to understand your thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes towards sleep contribute to whether or not you sleep in the first place. So if you are here and you've already made it this far into the video and this is enough and you don't want to watch anything else, then this is already enough, because the fact that you are here and you are learning and you are educating yourself on the process proves that you are already on your insomnia recovery journey. And sometimes, and I like to tell my clients that the logical part of your brain, so the logical part of your brain that is absorbing this, and the survival part of your brain that is warning you of a potential threat, they don't really talk to each other. So the logical part of your brain is soaking all of this information in, but the survival part of your brain actually needs to experience the things that we are learning about in order for it to also be convinced that what you are learning is actually true. So even though you logically can understand, okay, wakefulness isn't a threat, you need to work through that and through kind of like the survival part of your brain telling you otherwise in order to slowly and gently reteach it. So now that you know this, and you are on this path, this is already amazing. You're already on your recovery journey. The second sign that proves that you are on your recovery journey is that you are less anxious or less stressed around the ideas, thoughts, emotions around sleep. Maybe when you were first struggling with insomnia, you felt so lost, so overly consumed by the thoughts around sleep. How can you make sleep happen? How can you avoid wakefulness? And that was probably always on your mind. If you are now in some way, even if you think about it, less stressed and less anxious about sleep, this is amazing. This is your brain already identifying that the thing that it has was once already very, very stressed and anxious and worried about perhaps isn't something it really needs to be that worried about to begin with. So even though you're less stressed, that doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be sleeping your ideal amount. Sometimes the hyperarousal that we have experienced lives on in our body. So even though logically we're starting to understand the cycle of insomnia, we're starting to overall reduce our anxiety and our fear around sleep, our body is still perhaps stuck in the state of hyperarousal. And that's because our brain and body are intelligent creatures that are always trying to keep ourselves safe. The alarm bells have at some point gone off, meaning that our body is still not sure as to whether or not it can trust sleep, because wakefulness is something it needs to fight off, right? So even though you're less stressed around sleep, this is amazing, this can be celebrated. The sleep will come back naturally. The more we detach from having to control sleep, the more likely it is going to come to us. Number 3, or third proof that you are recovering, and maybe this is a little bit of an obvious one, is that you're sleeping more. And, it seems obvious, but it's also not so obvious. I speak to clients every single day who say, I used to sleep 8 hours at the peak of my insomnia, or when things were really bad, I used to sleep 2, and now I'm sleeping 5. So obviously it's not where they want to be, and they fail to see how far they've come, when in reality, this is already really good progress. We want to detach from the overall macro picture that is insomnia and not look at it as, these rules as to how sleep needs to look like. The fact that you're sleeping more is a sign that you're overall reducing the state of hyperarousal, which is allowing sleep to happen. Because sleep is a completely passive process, it does not mean that sleepiness disappears or that the need for sleep disappears. It just means that it is being masked by adrenaline, cortisol, our stress hormones that are trying to keep us awake to fight off this threat. So the fact that you are sleeping more, even though you're maybe still stressed or anxious or worried about sleep, is actually proof that your overall state of hyperarousal has also been reduced. Number 4, and I absolutely love this sign because it is also something that I usually recommend people do, which is you are no longer talking about insomnia as much. So if you feel like you're not inclined to discuss insomnia with everybody around you on a day-to-day basis, like on a continuous basis, this is an amazing sign. Our brains as social creatures crave connection, crave confirmation from other people. Part of what makes insomnia so difficult is this idea that we are lonely and alone in our struggles. When you are struggling with insomnia, I think when you're awake and everybody else is asleep, it feels eerie. It feels weird. So the next day when you're inclined to talk about sleep, you're trying to find some kind of connection, which is also why it is so satisfying to watch recovery stories, because we're like, oh my God, we feel identified by someone who is just like us. However, if you feel like you just don't need to talk about insomnia as much, that's also your own thoughts and your own emotions around kind of sleep being healed, because you don't need the confirmation from anything external to confirm as to whether or not you're actually in a position of threat. And that also is so powerful, because the more you take back control of the dialogue that is your own life, the more you're also showing your brain, this is what we call befriending wakefulness, that you aren't in fact in a position of threat to begin with. And that, my friends, is worth gold. And number 5, which is most likely, if you're watching this video, actually where you're at, which is you swing between confidence and doubt. When we're looking at the insomnia recovery journey, I've also had clients say, I have an analytical brain, or I need to know conceptually, where exactly am I on this kind of journey of recovery? How can you, I guess, conceptualize what recovery actually looks like? And we like to call this kind of like this yo-yo phase, meaning that you are oscillating between confidence around your body knowing how to sleep and doubt as to whether or not it's actually available to you. What does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Maybe on some days you sleep perfectly fine, you feel complete detachment towards sleep, you don't even think about it. Then randomly you get a random thought, maybe it's even every other 2 days. Like, let me just emphasize that it can be very consistent, but maybe you get this random thought on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and it's, what if I don't sleep? And it sends you spiraling again. It makes you doubt as to whether or not you're actually going to find your way out of this. And this is such a powerful realization, because in these moments of clarity, you can use that as an example that sleep is not something you need to worry about. When that doubt creeps in, this is also your survival part of your brain trying to keep you safe. It is not your brain working against you, it is actually your brain working for you. And the more you can understand the patterns as to why this happens, the more you can also reteach your brain that it in fact is safe to do what it naturally knows how to do, which is sleep. So by now you have 5 signs that you're probably doing a lot better than you actually thought. And if you've gotten to this part of this video, just know that this roller coaster that is recovery is completely normal. And you've got it, you've got the tools. And if you feel like you're still unaware as to what the cycle of insomnia actually is, and you feel like you still maybe need some foundational education around this topic, I have linked my 5 Days to Better Sleep email series below. And I also love answering your questions. All of us are unique in our own journey. I think insomnia can be very similar person to person, but our interpretation and our own journeys are unique. So if you have a specific question, please go ahead and just drop it in the comments, and I promise I will personally reach out to you with my answers. Anyway, thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.